our lesson for today is propagating uncertainty. Propagating is a really big word, but it has to do with how the uncertainty changes based on if you multiply, subtract, add, divide, etc. So our learning target is I will correctly propagate uncertainty when adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. Okay, so there's going to be times when you're going to have to do a mathematical process with your values. Okay, so you might have to add them, you might have to subtract them, multiply them, divide them, that type of thing. Okay, so for example, if you're trying to determine the change in distance that an object travels, okay, to do that, we need to subtract the entire distance from the beginning distance. Okay, but in each case there will be uncertainty in the measurement, right? So the change in distance must take into account both uncertainties, right? So you have this uncertainty and you have this uncertainty. Your resultant needs to take into consideration both of these. Okay, so when adding or subtracting measurements, okay, first make sure that the units of both measurements are the same. If they're not, you cannot add them or subtract them. Okay, if you're going to add them, you add the absolute uncertainties together. Okay, so you add the values like you normally would, and then you add the uncertainties. So here you end up with 9.66 plus or minus, and then we had 0.5 and 0.6, so you add them together, you get 1.1. Remember, 1 sig fig, so it's just 1. Okay, if we're subtracting, you're going to subtract like you normally do. Okay, and then instead of subtracting the uncertainties, you're going to add them. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're adding or subtracting, you're going to add the absolutes together. Okay, when you're multiplying or dividing, okay, you have to add the percent uncertainties together. This is the reason why we learned how to change from absolute to percent. Okay, if the uncertainty is in absolute form, you have to convert it to percent before propagating, right? So just to review, to get to the percent, we take the 0.03 and we divide it by 3, and then we multiply by 100. So that's how I got the 1% and the 1%. Okay, you add the percents together. Okay, same thing with dividing. You have to change them to percents and you add the percents together. Okay, when there's an exponent like a square or a square root, okay, you're going to multiply the percent uncertainty by the exponent. So in my example here, I have 3 centimeters plus or minus 1%, and I want to square that value. So I square that first value, which is 9, and then I just multiply the uncertainty percent by whatever that number is. In the exponent. Okay, and I noticed that these are wrong. Okay, so I have 1 times 1/2. So this should be 0.5. So I have the square root of 3 When I do that in my calculator, I get 1.73 centimeters. And then it should be plus or minus, take the 1/2 times the 1, you get 0.5. So to sum it up, there are times when a mathematical process such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division will need to be done on measurement data. Okay. We went through the procedures for propagating uncertainty using both addition and subtraction and multiplication and division. So remember, addition and subtraction, you add the absolutes together. Multiplication and division, you you add the percents together. And then for something raised to a power, you're just multiplying by that exponent.